City News on TV Rotorua is proudly brought to you by Trade Central.
Kia ora Rotorua, ahead in tonight's bulletin. Rotorua Pro-Democracy Society spokesperson Reynold McPherson says they're in a tactical battle against the Te Arawa submission process. Entries have opened for the 2015 Rotorua Museum Art Awards, and there's 1 week to go until the launch of Crankworks Rotorua. Rotorua Pro-Democracy Society spokesperson Reynold McPherson says the movement is in a tactical battle against the Te Arawa submission process. For the next month, local residents have the opportunity to make a submission on the proposed Te Arawa partnership models. Mr McPherson says the submission process is biased and the Pro-Democracy Society is mobilising their forces to try and influence proceedings.
As a society, we're confronted by what is actually in the partnership plan. Was studied in great detail, and the aspects of it that trouble us I've just explained. We do understand that between now and April 17th, when submissions close, we're engaged in a tactical battle over submissions. We need to at least break even against the strength of, combined strength of the new elite running Te Arawa and the current elite in council, and all of the officials have mobilised to persuade people to accept option 2. We're not very happy about that process, but we've got to compete and win that battle for submissions.
Meanwhile, Mayor Steve Chadwick is welcoming the community's input into the Te Arawa submission process, saying all ideas are relevant and need to be respected.
We want to hear their views, so we have an open mind, and we're right in the middle of that process. Submissions close on the 17th of April, so it's exactly 1 month to go today. And then we'll have a bit of a breather because it's a sensitive issue and the community has got a lot of information but a lot of misinformation too. So after these information meetings, they're much clearer in their head about what was proposed and how we'll go forward, and then we will consider what is the way to go forward to give us a better partnership than what we had from a previous advisory committee.
And we have the full interview with Mayor Steve Chadwick tomorrow night, with the full Pro-Democracy Society interview with Reynold McPherson coming up on Friday. Entries have opened for the 2015 Rotorua Museum Art Awards. The biennial awards aim to inspire local artists and highlight the wealth of talent in the Bay of Plenty region. For more information about the awards and how to enter, visit rotoruamuseum.co.nz. Entries close 5 p.m. Monday the 4th of May. A new social community group has been launched that aims to encourage people to make positive health improvement through changing what they eat. Roto Vegans is the brainchild of local Tony Bland, who says the philosophy of the social group is to help more people become powered by plants.
And the idea is to encourage people to get together who want to be powered by plants, because it's one of the best ways that you can improve your health. So the idea of the group is to get groups of people together who really are interested in improving their health through eating this way. And that includes people who already eat this way, or anyone who's really interested in it too. So everyone is welcome along, and the idea is to encourage them to change and make a difference in their health and also the environment and for animal welfare too.
In sport tonight, anticipation mounts ahead of next week's official launch of Crankworks Rotorua. Crankworks, the world's biggest mountain bike festival, kicks off next Wednesday, catapulting Rotorua onto the international mountain biking scene. Major sponsor and event host Skyline Rotorua is expecting big things next week.
We're looking for a big influx of people to come to Rotorua for Crankworks. We're seeing really positive signs out of the accommodation sector. I know some of the viewers at home have been renting out their houses in batches for the event, so we're expecting a lot to be happening around that time. We're really gearing up now for a big event.
To your weather update now. Tonight will be fine with southwest easing and an overnight low of 7. Tomorrow, Thursday, fine with light winds, a high of 19 and a low of 6. And the outlook for Friday, fine with light winds, a high of 19 and a low of 7. In the marine forecast for Lake Rotorua, southerly 10 knots developing in the evening and then dying out with waves less than half a metre. There'll be early cloud and then fine. Still to come in tonight's show, we cover the recent visit by South Pacific Emergency Service workers. We find out about the work of the Chaplaincy Trust, and we catch up with Rotorua Lakes Councillor Janet Wepper.
City News on TV Rotorua is proudly brought to you by Trade Central.
Well, our Rotorua Training Service has been playing host to many people of all backgrounds from around the Pacific. And here to tell us why is Anthony Brake from Paima. Anthony, firstly, before we go into what's been going on in the last 5 days, can you please explain first what Paima is and what it stands for?
Yeah, thank you. PIMA is the Pacific Islands Emergency Management Alliance. It is an alliance of the civil defence fraternity, the fire and emergency services and the police. So with that we have the National Disaster Management Officers in the Pacific, the fire and emergency services fire chiefs across the Pacific, as well as the Pacific Islands Chiefs of Police, which is based out in Wellington.
So there was a big meeting that took place, and what was decided at that meeting?
We had a big meeting in 2012 in Nandi, Fiji, where we had what's called the Pacific Platform on Disaster Risk Management, and as part of that meeting we had the 3 groups there for the first time, and it was agreed at the meeting that there should be an alliance of emergency management, both management and responders, whereby there could be a common focus in things moving forward. Focus on interoperability, a common incident management system, common training and so on across the Pacific. So something that we are looking at modelling out of New Zealand and Australia.
Absolutely. Now, when we look at the Pacific and we look at Fiji, we see that they're quite vulnerable, aren't they, because they're isolated. So can you please tell me what is it that Fiji or the Pacific Islands face in regards to disasters?
Well, disasters in the Pacific are very much compounded by the fact that there's a lot of distance that needs to be covered. A lot of Pacific Islands have islands within their geographical area. That is a difficulty getting there. So logistics is one aspect. Another one is that in terms of capability and resources, they're quite limited in the islands. So we need to make do with what we have, and of course look at how we can gain partnerships with other agencies like in Australia, New Zealand, USA and so on, and how we can be able to bring that to bear when we have major emergencies. Absolutely.
So while here, what are your objectives? What is the agenda?
This 1-week trip here to New Zealand is 3-phased. The first part is looking at urban search and rescue. New Zealand just had a classification exercise that was done in Palmerston. The idea there is for the Pacific to look at what they can offer, but also what the Pacific should focus on. Maybe not the big stuff, but probably the smaller things like Category 1 training and so on.
So let's look at your agenda throughout the 4 or 5 days that you've been here. What are some of the things that you've actually put into practice? What are some of the things that you've learned?
Well, some things that are being taken away from here is on the incident command system. We're looking at how we can take away the training that's done here in New Zealand and then adapting it to the Pacific. The other one is how we can develop further the urban search and rescue capability, especially in the Pacific having Category 1 capable.
So I can imagine, yes, you'd be taking away some valuable information, but what does it take in order to organise a group like this to come to New Zealand to train?
Well, the organisation for this particular trip started in December last year when the offer was made by the New Zealand Fire Service. So this trip is co-sponsored by the New Zealand Fire Service in the sense that they're funding the stay in New Zealand. But in order to get people here, we've been supported very kindly by the European Union through the Pacific EDF-10 project, which is known as the Building Safety and Resilience in the Pacific project. That's based out of SPC, and the countries have been provided funding, and they are using it in their priorities to move safety and resilience forward. And for this, a lot of the Pacific Island countries, we have about 8 with us. And those 8 countries identified that this is a priority, so they have provided funding towards it. So it's co-funded between the European Union and the New Zealand Fire Service.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. How many members have you got all in all?
All in all, we've got 20 members from the Pacific Islands. We have members from the National Disaster Management Office, Fire and Emergency Services, Police, as well as our partners from the Australasian Fire Authorities Council in Australia and the New Zealand Fire Service.
And how are they enjoying it?
Well, the weather is interesting. Fortunately, it's been very warm for us, and probably for New Zealanders as well, but it's nice and bearable. And overall, for the trip, there's a lot of learning going on, a lot of takeaways, and they're taking that in a positive in how we can be able to adapt it to the Pacific.
Yeah, absolutely. So adapting it, let's look at the future now. Let's look at all this training being done. How is it going to be put into place?
Well, one of the methods forward is through the BSRP, or the Building Safety and Resilience Project of the European Union. We've also got support available from the Australian and New Zealand governments, as well as the US governments. Taking this forward, what we'd like to see it happen is that at the end of the day, the Pacific is more resilient, but more so that between countries they can support each other before, you could say, the heavy artillery arrives from New Zealand and Australia.
Absolutely, and that's quite nice to see. It's good to see that we're all getting together and we're realising, well, it's bigger than just one country, it's about us all. So thank you very, very much for having a quick word for us today and letting us know, our locals, what's happening in the background. So thank you
very much. Thank you.
Well, we're here at Rotorua Hospital. You might see behind us a few things that don't actually look a bit like a hospital, but there's one place in this busyness of the hospital that people can come, whether it's patients, whether it's family, friends, for a bit of a peaceful atmosphere, a bit of contemplation, a bit of tranquility in the midst of the busyness and sometimes in the midst of difficult circumstances. It's the chapel here at Rotorua Hospital. It's run by the Rotorua Hospital Chaplaincy Trust, and the main man that heads it up is the Reverend Ray Bloomfield. So we've taken you out of a busyness of your day to talk about chaplaincy. It's something that perhaps some people know about but others don't. So basically, I know you're part of you're the leader of the team, and we'll talk about that. But what do we mean by chaplaincy these days, Ray?
A chaplain is a minister who works in an institution or an organisation rather than in a church, such as a parish minister. Our role in the hospital is to support people with their spiritual beliefs in order to facilitate their healing. And there's a difference, Wayne, as you would know, between spiritual or spirituality and religion. And everyone is spiritual, but not everyone is religious. And for some people, their spirituality is expressed through religious means. Sure. For other people, it's expressed through other ways. Whatever their particular spiritual belief is, we're here to support them.
And sometimes in a situation like may often be here at the hospital, that aspect of tapping into the spirituality for a lot of people is important, isn't it?
It's extremely important, because I think one of the greatest spiritual needs of people is to have a sense of hope for the future. And when people come in and they're facing medical dilemmas, often that hope goes out the window.
Sure. Now, as I said before in our introduction, you're part of a team and you're part of a chaplaincy trust, obviously, and there are other chaplaincies around the country. It's an important job, but you're one of many in terms of a team, aren't you?
Yes, we have a team of 13 chaplaincy assistants. They're voluntary chaplaincy assistants, and some of those have given 21 years voluntary service here. We have Miyoko Hammersley, our Catholic chaplain, and she's one of the people who's been here for over 21 years, wonderful lady. And we have a full-time administrator, Ellie Lamberton, who again is just outstanding.
From your point of view, you're a man who's been doing it for what, 27, something like that?
About 22 years 22 here at the hospital, yeah.
And what do you find most satisfying about it?
I love people. And so it's the people contact for me, and it's the making a difference that is really satisfying.
Well, obviously we're going to be talking very shortly to Alison Lamberton, who's heading up a team of volunteers again to raise funds, big event coming up. But in the meantime, thank you for the work you do, and it's very much appreciated.
Thanks, Wayne. Thank you.
Well, as we've already mentioned, we're here at the Rotorua Hospital Chapel, and we're talking about the chaplaincy service that's operated here. As the Rotorua Hospital Chaplaincy Trust Administrator is Alison Lamberton, but of late she's been very, very busy, and from here on in will be continually busy organising an amazing event that's coming up at the Holiday Inn. Great venue, obviously.
Oh, excellent venue, and they have given us a very good price on a wonderful room. The event is on April the 12th at 1 o'clock. It's a gala afternoon.
And it's a fashion
It's a fashion show.
It's a fashion
show. Mel from Parrots Fashions in Hinimara Street has been wonderfully generous. She's got some beautiful clothes, and she has got 10 models. Wow. They are going to display the clothing. They're going to do a fashion show. We have got some wonderful entertainment.
There's a name that I've been familiar with, and you are too probably, and a lot of people watching right now, Brendan Dugan, one of the kings of country in this country.
Yes, it's going back a bit.
But he's still got it, we know that.
He's got the voice, and he's got the guitar, and he's got the attitude, and
and also,
very happy to help.
Another young lady,
Alice Carrington.
Yes, tell us about her.
She is a soprano, and she is currently being mentored by Dame Malvina Major.
Amazing emerging talent.
Emerging talent, and just beautiful, and very happy to do things for people for no recognition or anything, just to do it.
It's also important to note too that there's a duo, I gather, from the
Mamma Mia.
Yeah, now everyone's into the ABBA music, of course, so that's another feature of the day.
That's been a very successful show, and these two young women are very vibrant, very entertaining, and a lot of fun.
Do a bit of a sing-along aspect.
It will be. Definitely.
We all know the ABBA songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the event itself, obviously, is for a good cause. It's to raise funds for the operation, if you like, of the charitable trust, the chaplaincy.
True, the chaplaincy, and it's also about profiling chaplaincy as well. And we have had a overwhelming support from the community. We've got wonderful prizes, wonderful things to auction off, wonderful things to win. So buy tickets, because every ticket's got a lucky number on it, and you just
it's
never
getting better
know.
all the time.
You just never know.
So am I right in saying that some of the clothes are going to be auctioned off as well?
All of the clothes are going to be auctioned. All of them are going to be auctioned off. Everyone that's you see on the catwalk, per se, will be auctioned off, and they're going to go for a very, very good price. You're going to get yourself a good bargain.
Yeah. Where can they get tickets,
They can get tickets from Parrots Fashions, Footloose, from Lime Cafe, and from Simply Different, and of course from here.
Wonderful. Here at the hospital,
here
at the chapel.
Hospital, and they can call me on 349 7853 if they want tickets.
Well, you've got a lot of organising to do, so we'll let you go and do that. Make phone calls, send emails and stuff. So
yes.
We'll see you on the day, but all the very best for the work you do, and thank you indeed.
Thank you so much.
So is it true, Rotorua, that you know more about your community than what they do here in council? And if so, you're probably right. Janet Wepper and I were going to have a quick discussion about the matching fund that's available for you and your community. Janet, thank you so very much for your time.
You're welcome. Lovely to be here.
Let's talk about the matching fund, just for our community members that may not know about its background. What is it?
Well, the Neighbourhood Matching Fund we started about a year ago, and we put aside $150,000 a year. And the idea is that you can apply for the funds so that if you match it with voluntary labour, we will help you. And it's normally around small projects. To date, it's only been taken up by fairly small projects, so you can apply for up to $5,000 practically any time throughout the year, which is quite different to a lot of other funds. And we do have 3 rounds a year where you can apply for money over $5,000 for big projects. So it's basically supporting communities to do work that they think's important.
So it's just that then, it's matching what you're going to put into it for your community.
Absolutely. The good thing about it is you don't have to be a registered charitable trust or anything like that, but we do like some accountability. But we can give out $100, $200, small amounts, and it's typically so far been used for things like community gardens, maybe buying some sunshades, all range of things. But people are starting to get an idea of what it's really useful for, and we've seen some good uptake.
Oh, absolutely. So let's look at the communities in which this is being used, and how have they responded to the fund? How is it that it's changed their community?
Well, Western Heights, for example, they've really been able to invest more in planting and fencing, and they're doing well. Lake Okaraka have got a fantastic community garden. So people are using lots of the resources and people they know, and I know, for example, not that it was money, but they did get some money from leftover wood from Eat Street for some of their garden supplies. We're also, this fairly soon, I don't think it's happened yet, at Hamarana, where 4 houses were removed in the last few years. They're cleaning up their reserve as a community, and so we're supporting them by giving them money for tickets to take stuff to landfill, because that is expensive. And all those, so that's another thing that's happening. It's really great. We've got some wonderful new initiatives coming on board, so I look forward to updating you in the future.
Very nice. Yes, wonderful new initiatives, that's right. Because you've come to realise that the public do know more about what they need than what council may know.
But it's making sure that not only are we accountable for the ratepayer money, which really matters, but that people have some flexibility and opportunity to do what's really important for them. And it's a really exciting way of working, because traditionally people just come and ask for stuff at an annual plan or something like that, and then often it takes 3 or 4 years or even longer for something to happen if we do everything. So it's about empowering people to do things that are really important to them.
That's really nice. Is that what's important, empowering our local community?
Oh, absolutely. I think it is. I think a lot of people want to do that. And it's also creating a sense of community, because it's encouraging people to work together, instead of all in our silos that we tend to get stuck in because we're so busy with life.
And so is that a regular thing that people will come to council and say, look, our community needs this, our community needs that, and then you've gone, wow, there's so much to do, how about we create a way that they can be sustainable and they can do it for themselves?
And absolutely. I mean, it is a little bit of a change to what we've done in the past. The Neighbourhood Matching Fund was discussed and thought about a couple of years ago, so it came in 1st of July last year. So it's taken a little while for people to get on board about what can really happen, but it's working well.
Now, I know that you did touch on it, but let's make that nice and clear. How many funds are there that you can apply for? How many?
In terms of the Neighbourhood Matching Fund, you can apply for grants over 5,000 3 times a year.
3 times, yes.
And the closing date is March the 20th for the next round of that. You can apply any time for funds under $5,000. But in our total pool, we have only $150,000 a year. And so the next amount, hopefully it all goes through council over the next few months, would be 1 July next year.
So let's talk about how you apply for the funds, where you go for the information and the criteria.
The best person to ring is Carol Parker, and she administers all of that and tells you there's slightly different criteria for depending on what you're applying for, the level of funding.
Thank you so very much for your time, Janet. You've been very helpful and very informative. So there you have it, Rotorua. If you need more information, ring Carol down here at the Rotorua District Council or find something online.
That was Lakes District Councillor Janet Wepper talking to Melanie Groves. For more information or to contact the show, you can email news@tvrotorua.co.nz or phone 07 3488 984. Thanks for joining us tonight. From all the team here at City News, Ko Maria.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
City News on TV Rotorua was proudly brought to you by Trade Central.